My name is Eleanor Wright. I'm 40 years old. And I didn't know my relationship had already ended when my boyfriend looked me straight in the eye and said, calmly, "Someone is pregnant with my baby, but it isn't you." He didn't say it with fear. He didn't say it with guilt. He said it like he was explaining a scheduling conflict. We had been together for 8 years, not married, but intertwined in every way that mattered. Shared finances, shared routines, shared plans we spoke about in conditional future tense, as if saying them too loudly might jinx them. We'd been trying for a baby for over a year. Doctor appointments, fertility supplements, quiet disappointment disguised as patience. I thought we were solid. I thought loyalty was the one thing we never had to question. That Monday evening, I got home from the gym around 7:30 p.m. He was already there, sitting at the kitchen table, phone face down, laptop closed. The apartment felt wrong, too quiet, the kind of quiet that presses against your chest. "Hey," I said, dropping my gym bag. "You okay?" He looked up at me, and that's when I noticed it. No emotion, no anxiety, no warmth. "We need to talk," he said. Those 4 words never bring good news. I sat across from him, my stomach tightening before my mind could catch up. "She's pregnant," he said flatly. For exactly 2 seconds, joy exploded in my chest. Finally, after all the disappointment. Then he added, "But the baby isn't yours." The world didn't stop. It warped. "What?" I whispered. "It's Natalie's," he said. Natalie, his ex-girlfriend from college. The woman now married to another man, with a toddler. "It happened 3 months ago," he continued. "I didn't plan it." "You slept with her," I said slowly, forcing the words to stay upright. "Yes. And she's pregnant." "Yes." I pressed my palms against the table to ground myself. Part of me wanted to scream. Another part felt hollow, like something essential had drained out of me without pain. "Does her husband know?" I asked. "No," he said quickly, "and he doesn't need to." He leaned forward then, persuasive, reasonable. "She has a family. I don't want to destroy that. Things don't need to get messy." Messy. "And what about us?" I asked. He hesitated only a fraction of a second. "We can raise the baby together," he said. "You've always wanted kids." I laughed, a brittle, broken sound. "You want me to raise your ex-girlfriend's child, pretend it's mine." "I'm asking you to think about what we have," he said. 8 years. People make mistakes." "Mistakes?" I repeated. His voice sharpened. "I'm trying to protect everyone." Number. He was trying to protect himself. I stood up. "I need air." I left without my keys, drove without direction, and ended up in a 24-hour diner on the edge of town, staring into terrible coffee and scrolling through Natalie's husband's Facebook page. A kindergarten teacher, a smiling child, a life built on trust. I sat there until midnight. When I came home, he was asleep. I slept on the couch, already alone. And somewhere in that silence, something inside me shifted. Not anger, clarity. Tuesday morning, I woke up at 6 a.m. with the kind of clarity that doesn't feel like peace. It feels like a blade. The apartment was still dark. The air smelled faintly like last night's leftovers and the detergent from the load I'd forgotten in the dryer. Everything looked normal, which somehow made it worse, because the betrayal didn't come with flames or broken glass. It came with calm voices, and the expectation that I would cooperate. From the bathroom, I heard the shower turn on. He was getting ready for work like nothing had happened, like my entire understanding of my life wasn't bleeding out on the living room couch. I sat at the kitchen table with a mug of coffee I didn't taste. On my phone, I still had our messages from the night before. His words, his admission, his logic, preserved like evidence. And that's what it became. Evidence. Because when someone tells you a lie big enough to reroute your entire life, your brain stops operating on love. It starts operating on proof. I opened Facebook again. Natalie's husband, Robert Lawson, was exactly what my instinct said he'd be. Kind eyes. A profile full of classroom crafts, smiling kids, and captions about gratitude. Their child, Emma, was 2. Curly hair. A gap-toothed smile in one picture that made my throat close. I stared at the screen so long it blurred, and then my mind whispered the question I had avoided all night. If I stay quiet, what does that make me? Complicit. A cover-up partner. A silent accomplice in the lie that would destroy someone else later, when it was even crueler. My hands didn't shake when I screenshot the messages. "We need to talk tonight. She's pregnant, but it's complicated. Please don't be angry." "It's Natalie's. 3 months ago. Don't tell Robert. I don't want it messy." As if the truth was the mess, not the cheating. I opened a message request window. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. And for a moment, I almost didn't do it. Not because I thought she didn't deserve to know, but because I understood exactly what would happen the moment I hit send. This wasn't a grenade, it was a match. And there was gasoline everywhere. Still, I typed. Hi, Robert. You don't know me, but I'm Eleanor Wright. I need to talk to you about your wife, Natalie. It's urgent. Please call me. I included my number. Then, before my courage could evaporate, I attached the screenshots. I hit send. The moment it went through, my stomach dropped like I'd stepped off a cliff. I put my phone face down and sat there in the kitchen, listening to the shower run, waiting for the world to change. At 6:45, he walked out of the bedroom, already dressed. Crisp shirt, clean hair, that composed face people wear when they believe they're still in control. He stopped when he saw me on the couch in the same clothes I'd slept in. Did you sleep out here? He asked, voice careful. Yeah, I said. He rubbed his neck like I was being dramatic again, like the problem was my reaction, not his actions. Eleanor, we need to talk about this properly. I know you're upset. I'm not upset, I said. He blinked, confused. I'm done. His face changed immediately. What does that mean? It means I'm not raising Natalie's baby, I said calmly. It means I'm not pretending this didn't happen. It means we're over. He exhaled sharply, like I had just betrayed him. You're overreacting. There it was. The script. Minimize. Reframe. Pressure her into swallowing it. It was one mistake, he insisted. One time. Are you really going to throw away 8 years over one mistake? Was it really one time? I asked. He hesitated. Not long. Just long enough. Then he nodded too quickly. Yes. But his eyes didn't match the word. He grabbed his keys, and as he headed for the door, he said, like a warning, disguised as reason, Don't do anything stupid, Eleanor. The door shut behind him. I sat there, staring at the wall, and realized something cold and important. He wasn't afraid of losing me. He was afraid of losing the narrative. At 9:47 a.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Is this Eleanor Wright? A man asked, voice shaking like he'd been crying so hard his throat was raw. Yes. A pause. A breath that sounded like it scraped his lungs. This is Robert. For a second, I couldn't speak. Then he asked, small and broken. Is it real? Every word. And even though I'd already sent the proof, he needed the truth spoken out loud, because screenshots can feel like a nightmare you might wake up from. Yes, I said quietly. It's real. I found out last night. He told me Natalie is pregnant with his baby. He asked me to keep it quiet so you wouldn't find out. I heard him inhale sharply, like he'd been punched. She said she was working late, Robert whispered. She said she had meetings. I closed my eyes. I'm so sorry, I said, and I meant it. I didn't tell you to hurt you. I told you because you deserve to know what kind of marriage you're living in. Robert's voice turned frantic. I need to talk to her. I need to hear it from her. I can give you her number, I said. Please. I texted him the number on Messenger, hand steady, heart not. And then I waited. Exactly 15 minutes later, my phone lit up with his name. I answered. His voice was already screaming. What did you do? He shouted. Why is Robert calling me sobbing? Why is he asking me about Natalie? I held the phone away from my ear, waited for the rage to burn itself out, then said, I told him the truth. You had no right, he snapped. This was between us. No, I said, voice flat. It's between all of us. Robert deserves to know his wife cheated, just like I deserve to know my boyfriend cheated. You're destroying 2 families, he yelled. I felt something harden inside me, something final. No, I said. Natalie destroyed her family when she cheated, and you destroyed ours when you decided I'd be your silent partner. He swore and hung up. I stared at the black screen, and for the first time since last night, I didn't feel like I was drowning. I felt like I'd finally stopped holding my breath, because the truth was out now. And even though it would get ugly, it was already ugly. I had just refused to live inside it quietly. By Wednesday afternoon, the lie had fully collapsed. Not quietly, not privately. It collapsed the way lies always do, loud, messy, and furious that they were ever exposed. At 2:03 p.m., my phone rang again. Unknown number. I already knew who it was before I answered. Eleanor, a woman's voice snapped, tight with rage that was barely contained. You need to delete those messages. Right now. Natalie. I leaned back against the kitchen counter, staring out the window at a sky that looked offensively normal. No, I said. You had no business telling Robert, she hissed. This didn't concern you. I almost laughed. You slept with my boyfriend, I said. You're pregnant. You plan to let me raise your child as mine. You don't get to decide what concerns me. She inhaled sharply. You've ruined my life. No, I corrected. You ruined your life when you cheated on your husband. Silence. Then her voice dropped, cold and venomous. You're going to regret this. The call ended. I documented it immediately. Time, number, exact words. Something in my gut told me this wasn't over, not by a long shot. At 4:30 p.m., he called. This time there was no pretense of calm. "You destroyed everything," he said, voice shaking with controlled fury. "Robert is filing for divorce. He's taking Emma. He's going after full custody." I closed my eyes. "Good," I said. "What?" he snapped. "Natalie deserves to make her own choices with the truth," I replied, just like I did. "You're vindictive," he spat. "You did this out of spite." "No," I said quietly. "I did it because I refused to be part of the cover-up." "You didn't have to blow everything up," he insisted. "We could have handled this privately." Privately. Like the pregnancy, like the cheating, like the lie he expected me to live inside. "You don't get peace without honesty," I said. "You just get delayed consequences." He laughed darkly. "You think you're some kind of hero?" "No," I said. "I think I'm done." He hung up without another word. That night he came home late. His eyes were red, his jaw clenched so tightly I could hear his teeth grind when he spoke. "Robert called me at work," he said flatly, dropping his bag by the door. "He told me I destroyed his daughter's life." He sat on the couch and stared straight ahead. "He said she hopes I'm happy." I didn't respond. "Natalie called too," he continued. "She says this is all your fault, that if you hadn't told Robert, none of this would be happening." I turned toward him then, really looked at him. "Messed up things don't stop being real just because no one talks about them," I said. "They just rot." He finally looked at me. "Do you hate me?" The question surprised me. "No," I said honestly. "I'm just done believing you." Something in his face cracked then, not enough to change anything, but enough to show fear. "I'm still your boyfriend," he whispered. "Not for long." He started crying. Not the kind of crying that carries remorse. The kind that comes when consequences arrive before someone is ready. I went to the bedroom, pulled out a suitcase, and packed slowly. Clothes, documents, the life I could carry. I called my sister. "I need a place to stay for a while," I said. "You don't even have to explain," she replied. When I walked past him with the suitcase, he didn't stop me. He just sat there, staring at the wall, watching the future he'd gambled away close behind me. I left without saying goodbye. Thursday morning, I sat in a quiet office across from a woman with sharp eyes and a posture that didn't tolerate nonsense. Her name was Patricia Klein, divorce attorney. She listened, didn't interrupt, didn't soften anything. When I finished, she leaned back slightly. "Do you want to pursue this based on infidelity?" she asked. "What does that change?" I asked. "It makes the truth part of the record," she said. "Property division, emotional damages. It also removes the option of rewriting the story later." I didn't hesitate. "Yes," she nodded. "It will get messy." I thought of the lies, the expectations, the silence he demanded. "It already is," I said. "I'm just not pretending anymore." Patricia smiled faintly. "I can work with that." By Friday morning, he was served the papers at work. He called immediately. "You filed already?" he asked, voice frantic. "You didn't even give us time to talk." "There's nothing left to talk about," I said. "I love you," he pleaded. "I made a mistake, but I still love you." "If you loved me," I said evenly, "you wouldn't have cheated. If you loved me, you would have told me the truth before your lie started showing." He went quiet. "I thought we could fix this," he whispered. "You thought I'd stay," I replied. "Those are not the same thing." That evening, a message came through Facebook. From Robert. "Thank you," he wrote. "I know you didn't tell me to be kind, but you gave me the truth, and I needed that. I'm moving back to Ohio with Emma. We deserve better." I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed back. "You do. I'm sorry it came to you this way." He replied a moment later. "Are you leaving him?" "Yes," I wrote. "I already did." "Good," he said. "You deserve better too." I set my phone down. For the first time since Monday night, I felt something that wasn't grief or rage. Relief. Because the lie was dead now. And even though the fallout was still coming, I was finally standing on the side of the truth. The weeks that followed felt like living inside paperwork. Emails, voicemails, certified letters that arrived with my name typed in black ink like verdicts. Patricia moved efficiently. No drama, no indulgence. "Stick to facts," she told me. "Let the record do the talking." And the record was unforgiving. The text messages, the timeline, the pregnancy dates that proved the cheating wasn't a momentary lapse, but a sustained deception. His attorney tried a softer approach. They suggested reconciliation counseling. They framed me as emotionally reactive. They hinted that I was acting out of revenge. Patricia shut that down in under 10 minutes. "Infidelity with a resulting pregnancy," she said calmly, sliding the documents across the table, "is not a misunderstanding. It's a breach." He called me 3 times the day after that meeting. I didn't answer. He left voicemails instead. First, anger. "You didn't have to do this. You could have protected us." Then bargaining. We can still fix this. I'll go to therapy. I'll do anything. Then despair. I don't recognize my life anymore. I deleted them all without listening to the end. Because here's the thing, no one tells you about betrayal. Once the illusion breaks, it doesn't come back. Even if you try. Natalie sent me a long email 2 weeks later. 20 paragraphs. Apologies tangled with excuses. Loneliness. Confusion. How she hadn't meant for any of it to happen. How the pregnancy scared her. How she thought if I didn't know, everything could still be okay. I read it once. Then I deleted it. Not because I was angry, but because I refused to let her rewrite the damage as an accident. Friends reacted the way people always do when they don't want to imagine it happening to them. Some were supportive, some were uncomfortable. One mutual friend pulled me aside at the grocery store. I heard he's really struggling, she said gently. This has been hard on him. I looked at her for a long moment. He cheated, I said. He lied. He expected me to help hide it. I'm not sure why you think I'm responsible for how hard this is on him. She didn't have an answer. I started therapy shortly after. Her name was Dr. Lynn Chen, specialized in betrayal trauma. She didn't rush me toward forgiveness. She didn't ask me to soften anything. In our third session, she asked, "Do you regret telling Robert?" "Not for a second," I said. "If you'd stayed quiet," she prompted. "I'd be complicit," I replied, "and I would have lost myself." She nodded. "You chose honesty over peace." "Peace built on lies isn't peace," I said. "It's just silence waiting to explode." By the 6th week, things had settled into an uncomfortable rhythm. He moved out. Natalie moved in with her sister. The pregnancy became impossible to ignore. I heard, through people I didn't ask, that Natalie's workplace was distancing itself, that the affair had become gossip, that consequences had reached places she hadn't anticipated. I didn't feel satisfaction. I felt distance, which surprised me more. One afternoon, I received another message from Robert. He'd started a new teaching position. Emma was adjusting. They were safe. "I didn't know how heavy the truth was until I was free of it," he wrote. I understood exactly what he meant. The legal process moved toward its conclusion. Assets divided. No dramatics at the end. He didn't contest anything. He just wanted it over. The night before I signed the final papers, I sat alone in my sister's guest room, staring at the ceiling. I expected grief. Instead, what I felt was something quieter. Final. Because closure doesn't always come with tears. Sometimes it comes with exhaustion and the relief of not having to pretend anymore. 3 months after everything fell apart, the paperwork stopped coming. No more emails from attorneys. No more envelopes stamped urgent. No more conversations that felt like negotiations over emotional wreckage. It was done. I moved into a small apartment downtown, close to work, close to coffee, close to a version of my life that belonged only to me. It was quiet in a way that felt earned. No memories layered into the walls. No ghosts hiding in routines. Just space. Robert and Emma moved back to Ohio. He sent me occasional updates. Not often, not heavy, just enough. Emma started a new preschool. Robert got a teaching job at an elementary school. He sounded lighter, steadier. Leaving, he said, was the hardest decision he'd ever made. Also the best. Natalie had the baby a few weeks ago. A boy. I found out because we still weren't blocked from each other online. She posted a single photo, just the baby's face, no caption. Same eyes, same nose. He looked exactly like the truth everyone had tried to bury. I felt nothing. No anger, no grief, just nothing. Dr. Chen smiled gently when I told her. "That's indifference, she said. "It usually means you've finished grieving." I started dating again, not seriously. Coffee dates. Dinners that ended without expectations. It felt strange after 8 years of building my identity around a shared future. But it also felt right, like rediscovering who I was before I learned to shrink myself for someone else's comfort. My sister asked me one night if I'd do anything differently if I could go back. "No," I said without hesitation, even knowing how ugly it got. Especially knowing how ugly it got, because the mess didn't come from honesty. It was already there. I just stopped pretending it wasn't. Someone at work asked me recently if I believed in forgiveness. I thought about it longer than I expected. "I believe in consequences," I said finally. "Forgiveness without consequences isn't forgiveness, it's permission." I don't know if Natalie is sorry for what she did, or just sorry she got caught. I don't know if he regrets losing me, or just regrets losing control of the story. I don't really care anymore. What I know is this. I refuse to raise another woman's child under a lie. I refuse to protect a betrayal that wasn't mine. I refuse to sacrifice my integrity for someone else's comfort. And I walked away with myself intact. That's enough.